When you say goodbye, when you exit a relationship or a situation, leaving on a good note. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brianne. Well, I did a short, one of the shorts, which is less than 60 seconds on this subject, and I've talked about this subject before. And I felt like I wanted to talk a little bit more about it than just doing a short video on it. And so I got to thinking about when we exit a situation, whether it's a relationship, a job, a social setting, a church, a neighborhood, anything that has to do with other people, we want to leave it on a good note. Because I believe that how we exit is also how we enter into the next phase of our life. Recently, I went to a social setting type of group, and I hadn't been there in a while because I've been very busy. I go to college full time at age 65, and I noticed that a couple different people that regularly attended were not there. And so I got to thinking about it, and so I asked around a little bit, and people basically said they weren't coming back. They didn't say any more than that, and that was perfectly fine. I kind of got the idea. And I kind of felt that at least in one of the situations, maybe that person did not leave on a good note. My belief is this: when we're ready to make a change, that often has nothing to do with where we're at. It often has nothing to do with the people that we are with. Often when we are ready to grow, when we are ready to go, we know it. And yet so often, rather than people identify, it's just time to move on. It's time to move on to a new job, a new social setting. Maybe this one isn't giving me enough, but it's good otherwise. I believe in leaving on a good note. And yet often what people do is they begin to look at what's wrong. And they begin to focus solely on what's wrong with the situation. And or they have maybe hard feelings. They leave with hard feelings. They leave on a not nice note. And in one of these situations, I believe that is how it happened. In the other situation, I think the people were beginning to find fault in the social situation, and but really they just wanted to move on. And so they began to notice things that either they ignored, or maybe up to that point, or maybe things that they just chose to pay attention to because they were ready to move on. And rather than simply moving on and saying, hey, it's time for me to grow, I can't get everything I want here, but thank you for the time I've had here. Instead, I think it was kind of left, I don't want to say on a not good note, but I don't think it was left on the best note. And so I believe in leaving on a good note, if at all possible, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a social setting. We don't have to leave on a bad note just because we're ready to move on. And yet so many people leave on a bad note because they are not really identifying that the reason that they want to move on is because they're ready to grow. Instead, they use the excuse, something's wrong with the situation. Now, granted, there could be things wrong with the situation that are enough that someone would want to move on for that reason. And yet I find that most of the time that's not the reason people move on. And that's not the reason people begin to focus on what's wrong in that situation. Because often those things were wrong right from the beginning, and yet that person was very happy in that situation. And some situations a person should have never been in the first place. And so they're simply making their exit. And yet, if at all possible, leave on a good note, because we carry that attitude with us wherever we go. And when we enter into the next situation, often we will end up repeating that until we get it right. So remember, if at all possible, leave on a positive note. Don't look for excuses to leave if it's simply time to leave because you want to grow. And so grow and go, but do it nicely. From my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope you like, share, subscribe, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.